Everybody, we are jumping straight in. Got an hour to get through quite a lot of halakha, and as always, we will do our best in the time that we have. So we're on chapter Shin Bet 302, and we are learning about careful clothing on Shabbat. The first thing is folding your clothes on Shabbat. Basic answer, yes or no? Basic idea, yes or no? No, why not?
Preparing for Shabbat.
Good. So if you're not going to wear it on Shabbos, then it's preparing for after Shabbos. But what if it's Friday night and you're preparing for Shabbos morning?
It's laundering.
Then it still is, no, folding I'm not sure is laundering.
It's folded, is it?
I think it is.
Is it?
It's told of laundering.
I mean, the Menachem Mendes is
Which one? Of Kotz? Or of Gere? Which one?
Which one? 770? 770?
Here we go. Take a look at Yud Daled in the Mishna Brura, if you've got it there. This is, so it's chapter 302, Halacha Gimel, Mishna Brura Yud Daled. He says, Mishum de Vishnami Pashtin Hakmatin, the creases smooth out, Venire Kimatakein Mana. It seems like you are fixing something up. So it's not an issue of laundry. Laundry is when you are cleaning it. We're going to see a fair number of things about cleaning clothing on Shabbat. But when we're talking about decreasing, with a hyphen, clothing on Shabbat, that is not an issue of laundry, but that is an issue of matakein mana, of fixing it up. So that's going to be the concern, even if you're going to wear it again the next day. So what do you do with your clothes on Friday night if you are planning to wear them again after Shabbat? Throw it over your chair. What if you're planning to wear them again on Shabbat?
If I throw it over my chair, it bends at an angle. Therefore, it's like it's decreasing it at the same time.
Yeah, but it's so the answer they give over they say you're not taking out the creases, you're just stopping it getting more creased. Yeah. If you like hang it up nicely and all that kind of thing, then you're actually taking out the creases. So to put it on, but they asked me that in Mincha. I don't know. I wish I could say yes, but I don't see how. It seems problematic.
What it looks like.
The difference is
What is
because it
that?
looks like you set it up.
I wouldn't even say that it looks like you set up. You are actually, the way that hangers are designed to hang things up in a way that they will be crease free. Chairs are not designed with the same purpose in mind. That's even better. That's mitzvah min mahajun min mahajun. That's right. Next, okay, the other thing is, we also spoke during after Mincha about taking those last little things out your clothes, whether it's the loose threads or whatever else. Can you do that on Shabbat? No, why not? Magib Padish. So that's not just like nirik mataken manor. It's when it comes to folding clothing, it's really like a darabanan, because it looks like you're trying to fold up whatever else. But when it comes to pulling out those threads and whatever else, that actually is magib padish, especially since it's the kind of thing that you don't want to walk around wearing. So the way is to remove that before you wear it. Then that actually is magib padish. Sam.
If you got like two loose ends, then you gotta take one out. And make the other one.
It's still part of that completing process. Even though it's not, so in other words, to go from 98% complete to 99% complete is also a problem. Okay, so the next halakha is that, I'm not going to go into all, sorry?
There's 4 conditions to be honest.
So the 4 conditions, I didn't want to go into, but I'm going to look at them. There's 4 conditions under which you can fold your clothes for tomorrow, which you're never going to experience in your whole life. So I'll mention them, but you're never going to experience it in your whole life. If it's new white clothes that have, so new that it's never been laundered, it's white, it's yours, it's not shared by anybody else, and that's pretty common, but it's new white clothes and you don't have other clothes, then you can fold it. But once it's been in the laundry, sorry? 4. You've got to have all 4? from Friday night to Shabbos day. Right? So the first time you've ever got this shirt, and it's the only shirt that you have, then you're allowed to fold it on Friday night for Shabbos. In all the times you can't. So if you ask me, just forget about those four conditions, don't fold the clothes. Jethro.
By saying that it's white, are you implying that it has to be specifically white? Or
specifically white.
Or not any color?
No, white.
White.
So the halakha is that they say white creases less than other colors. No, creases more. Creases less. Creases less than the other colors. So the other colors, when you take out the crease, it improves them more. Whereas white, when you take out the creases, it improves them less, and that's why it's easier to get away with. Yeah.
You can't see my faces.
Just asking a question, what does this mean about if they give you the possibility of wearing colored clothes, what does that mean about wearing colored clothes? Maybe for ladies.
It's another story.
Okay. Good. Next halakha is they had like a kind of Samuel.
What happens if, when you say like, there's no other clothes, does that mean it's like dirty or like...
No, you don't have any clothes.
I think if it's dirty, that would also count. In other words, you don't have other clothes you could wear instead.
In transit, you lost your luggage and you bought a shirt from the airport.
1 second. So the Mishna Brura says, if you have other clothes, even though it's not as nice as this one, then that's so. In other words, you've got other like weekday clothes, and they're fine. But I wouldn't say. I mean, let's say so you've got this is your only formal button-up shirt, and you've also got a T-shirt. In that case, I would say that you don't have another shirt. But if you've got a Shabbos button-up shirt and a weekday button-up shirt, okay, so then that doesn't justify folding it up. Good. Let's go further. We're going to try to keep up a bit of a pace. The next halakha is also not so practical for us. It was about the way they used to do laundry. They used to have like these presses. Now, I even met somebody who still uses it, like a clothes press. Instead of ironing clothes, you actually put it like almost like a waffle maker, except for clothes. Right? And that's what so they had a similar kind of thing, and it was done with like hot stones and that kind of thing. So the question is, can you get your clothes out of that on Shabbat? And the answer is, you can get your clothes out of personal ones like that on Shabbat, but professional ones, the stone's so big and heavy, it's actually like deconstructing a building. So therefore you can't. Next halakha was that often when they washed their clothes, it would come out very stiff. So the kind of soap that they would use or whatever else. So what they want to do is like soften it, like shake it up and rub it and whatever to soften it. Are you allowed to do that on Shabbat? Yes, you are. Yes, you are allowed to do that on Shabbat. No, because you want to wear it. You want to wear it. So you've got it like Shabbos morning. You've got these clothes in your cupboard. Are you allowed to do that in order to wear them? The answer is yes, because you're doing it to soften it, not to make it or anything like that.
Someone actually asked Rabbi Eliashib about the hat. His hat was bent, and he said, if it's very bent, you can't pop it back up.
Okay.
If it's only a bit bent.
So there was a similar kind of thing to Matake and Matake and
It
Mana.
was very bent, it was very stram.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Can I adjust this so you don't have to hold it? Yeah. That's fine. So next halakha is about having mud on your foot or on your shoe. So there are two concerns about wiping this mud off your foot or shoe. Now, you don't want to wipe it off with your fingers. Why not?
Because that's yuck.
Because it's gross. Not because it's muktzah, as we'll see in a little while. Although it's not clear to me why it's muktzah, but it seems that it isn't. Mud, you don't want to wipe it off with your shoe with your hands because it's gross. So you want to wipe it off either on the ground or on a wall.
And you shake it.
Yeah, you could get it off by shaking, then that's fine. Now, the other thing could be, maybe it's not mud, right? Maybe it's from an inconsiderate dog owner. So the dog of an inconsiderate dog owner. So you want to get it off your foot. Now, the way number one is that you wipe it on the ground, and way number two is on the side of a wall. Now the problem with number one, with this, with wiping it on the ground, is that we worried you might end up smoothing out the ground. If the ground's got all these bumps and whatever else, by you rubbing it, you actually create that. So some say that it's forbidden because we worry that you might end up doing it like that. And when it comes to the wall with the mud, some are even worried about rubbing the mud off against the wall because you're like reinforcing the building. Right? You're like adding an extra layer of construction by putting on this mud. Now, yeah, what can I tell you? I find that a little hard to kind of wrap my mind around. But if you're living you're living in another thing, but that was done. Anyway, the Ramor says, in both cases, there are those who permit. Okay, so in other words, it's fine. Mishna Brura just adds in, but obviously, if you are talking about an area where it's where you would be smoothing out the ground, then you can't. We're just saying if you don't think you are going to. One opinion says you still shouldn't because maybe. Other opinion says no, it's fine. It's only a problem if it actually is going to be a problem in this situation. And the Ramo adds in that you could also scoop it off your foot with a shard of pottery. Time. So you're composting the ground. Yeah, it's an interesting one. So rub it off against the grass. Yeah. It's a good one to think about. I don't have. Sorry? Yes.
Rather than the wall.
Rather than on the wall than the ground. But so it's not a question of rather, it's a question of can you. So that's an interesting question with the dogmas. We can do that. I don't have a ready answer. Next halacha, if you've got some mud on your clothes, what do you do? Who can demonstrate? No, not like that. Not even like that. That's going to be second stage. But first prize is like this. First prize is like this. Rub the garment against itself. That's first prize. Now, the reason Yehuda said what he said like this is because the Shulchan Aruch uses an expression, "Meshafshafo mibifnim." You can rub it off from the inside. But the Mishna Brura clarifies over here, what does that mean? From the inside, Hainu, this means she'ochez habeged mibifnim, hold it inside, neged makomatit, opposite the place of the dirt, meshafshet zeh bezeh, ad shenofelatit, and rub it against each other until it falls off. So that's the idea.
That's
I
clever.
just think you're going to make more of a mess.
And then just like spread it
Yeah. So the point that I want to make here, and we'll see this as we continue, is that mess on your clothes on Shabbat is let me put this more generally. Clothes care on Shabbat is problematic, is quite difficult. Basically, Menachem, could I ask you for a cup of Coke Zero, please? Clothes care on Shabbat is difficult, and if your clothes get messed up, best is to just put on different clothes. That's going to be the easiest way to make sure that you know. But obviously, that's not the halacha. The halacha we're going to see. Thank you very much, gentlemen. The halacha we're going to see now. So the first thing you do is you rub it like that against one another, because then clearly this isn't how you do laundry on your clothes. So that's why it's the best way. But to really rub it off from the outside or whatever, that becomes more problematic. You're allowed to just scrape it a little bit off with your fingernail if we're talking about something that's still wet. But to crumble dry mud is a problem. What's the problem with crumbling dry mud?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And he's on his foot.
Tolchein, it's grinding. Grinding, tolchein, is turning big things into lots of little things. So the same way that you take peppercorns, turn it into these tiny little peppercorns. That's the same problem with mud.
He cheated.
Turning a clot of mud into lots of little pieces of sand. So the Mishnah Brura is not so excited about this, about even scraping it off with your nail and all of that. And there's a Taz where he speaks about how you can brush it off. And the Mishnah Brura says, well, you can kind of brush it off gently, but you can't really brush it off too well. And so that's why rak legarir betziporin. So again, it becomes quite difficult. On Friday night, I was at the Bayit, and they've got the walls painted with that blackboard paint, so you can do chalk on it. So that chalk. So I leaned against the wall while I was talking to somebody, and
Your thing got dirty.
so what do?
You rub it
You can't do
against
anything.
yourself.
Get another jacket for the next day, basically. Again, you know, you can brush it a little bit. You can't.
You won't be making it by hitting it over.
No, that's so fine. Like,
So it won't be tochen. It's not going to be a problem of tochen, but it is going to be a problem of dami lemalabein. It seems like you are. It's close to laundering it. It's not actually
This
laundering.
is close to laundry.
Like to really, you know.
You don't even need
To go just like this is fine, but to really give it a go is
No,
problematic.
I know, because when we started to paint our wall, we scraped off all the old paint.
chalk that. When you stand next to it, like.
Yeah.
So I'm
Tana.
you can just go.
It's part of the Shabbos mindset, you know? Yeah. Then he's got to think about not rubbing your shoes, not scraping your shoes with a knife, because what you end up doing is peeling off the sides of your shoes. I'll say it's different shoes and different knives to what we're used to thinking of. I probably did. Yeah.
It's like a big piece of metal.
Okay. Okay, now he says you are allowed to put some water on your shoes to just kind of rinse it off, but you can't actually wash the shoe, which means to, again, like rub it together with the water and all of that kind of thing. Clothes that have got a little bit of dirt, you're not even allowed to put on some water to clean it, because this is what it means to launder clothes. So whether you're fully laundering it in water or just with a little bit of water, he says what you can do is use a damp cloth lightly. You can use a damp cloth lightly. So you can't put water in, but you can use a damp cloth lightly. Why can't you use a damp cloth with force? That's right. You're going to end up squeezing the cloth out. So that's problematic. So you can use a damp cloth lightly. Menachem.
With regards to putting a bit of water on your shoes, it's dirty. And you said that you can't rub them with the water or anything. Can you put a lot of power in the water?
Oh, you're saying to use high water pressure?
Yeah.
It's going to use up a lot of your 50 liters. But yes, that doesn't seem to be problematic.
No, you just put the hose on high.
That doesn't seem to be problematic. Okay. No, the main thing is like the rubbing together and that kind of thing. When it comes to clothes, even just soaking clothes is considered laundry. When it comes to shoes, soaking shoes is not considered laundry. That's really the distinction.
If it's leather shoes.
Your leather shoes, yeah.
Nowadays, is it considered soaking?
In the older days, is what considered soaking?
Nowadays.
Nowadays, is soaking considered laundry?
Your shoes is considered soaking.
If it's like a canvas shoes, like a tackies or something, probably is, yeah. Probably would be. Then the Ramah says, if the clothes are clean, you're allowed to put in a little bit of water on them. Just not a lot, but then some say you can't even do that. The idea is like this. If it's dirty, then obviously putting water on them is washing them. If it's clean, and it's like neutral, if you're just putting water on them, I don't know why he's proposing it. There's room to say it's still laundry even without the intention of laundry. And there's room to say, no, it isn't laundry because it's clean. But where we see this coming up in the next halacha is for netilat yadayim. See, you washed your hands, not just for the mitzvah, but any time over Shabbos, you wash your hands. What do you want to now do? Dry them on a cloth. Well, there's two ways to look at that. The water's not disappearing, it's being transferred. So you can call it drying your hands, or you can call it wetting the cloth. So it's obviously fine to dry your hands, but we just got through saying it's problematic to wet the cloth. If I spilled some soup on my shirt, I can't now go and get water and pour that water on. The best I can do is a damp cloth and a little bit of a rub. but I can't pour water on it, right? So why can I take this cloth and start wetting it?
Because you're not going to wet it to the extent that it will become soap.
So you're not, well, there's two different things. When it,
Exactly, then you should use more than one towel.
so there's two issues when it comes to wetting fabric. The one issue, one second. There's two issues when it comes to wetting fabric. The issue number one is that if it becomes so soaked that you're going to squeeze it out, that's a problem with squeezing. But issue number two is wetting it itself is linked to laundry. It's an action of laundry. What were you saying, Samuel? Okay. So the Shulchan Aruch starts off by saying, if you're going to wash your hands, first you should get the water off by itself and then dry them on the cloth. So you shouldn't immediately dry your hands on the cloth with this exact concern. However, the Ramah is more lenient. He says, some say we don't need to worry about this. It's because this is, you're not rinsing the cloth. You're not making it clean. You're actually making it dirty. In other words, if we're on a Friday night, so we've had everyone use the washing towel. So what I want to do with it after Shabbos, I want to put it in the laundry. And what I want to put on the laundry, just had 30 people so kindly, wash it for me. No, it's not considered that they've washed it and they've cleaned it. It's actually considered that they've dirtied it. It's actually considered they've dirtied it. And since it's considered that they've dirtied it, not that they've cleaned it, so that actually stands in our favor. So this wetting is not a wetting of laundry, not a wetting of cleaning it. It's a wetting of dirtying it. Yeah. So he gives other examples along the same lines. Okay. Then he gives an unusual example. It's unusual because I don't think it's what we would do. So he says what happens is a baby made a wee on a piece of clothing.
Yeah, that's pretty common.
Pretty easy example. So what happens is I'm busy changing the baby, right? And get wee all over my shirt. Now I still want to wear the shirt. So what can I do? When I wash my hands, I can dry them on my shirt. And that what's the word? Dilutes. That dilutes the right? The what I've got on my shirt. And therefore that's okay. Because you can't say that I'm really doing laundry. Now it's interesting, he doesn't bring that for when you spilt soup. But it seems to me that would be a good solution.
But then, Rabbi Saga, are you allowed to wash your hands just so that you can dry them on your shirt?
It's a good question. It's a good question.
He's quite a
Yeah.
guy, eh?
So what he says, so firstly what he says here, we're not talking about like general dirt. We're specifically talking about urine, because it was just like a little bit of urine or whatever. And the idea is I want to still be able to daven. Like you can't really daven if you've got urine on your clothes. So I just want to kind of, wire that together. He doesn't say that you can't. My thinking would be that you can.
Because in those times they used to use urine as whitening or cleaning agent.
It's definitely used as a tanning agent. It's used as a cleaning agent as well. Yeah. So then he says, so that was the situation, but I can't actually pour water on it. So the best you can do is sort of, now I'm just drying my hands, and it just so happens. I presume you would want to go and wash. You'd probably want to go and wash your hands afterwards. Okay. Now he says if your hands got dirty through mud. Now this is an interesting one because it's potentially catastrophic. You'll see what I mean. If your hands got muddy, you're allowed to wipe them on the tail of a horse or the tail of a cow or a hard cloth, which is used to grip thorns, but not on a hand towel. Because you're not allowed to do it in like a weekday way where you'll end up washing the hand towel. So what he says is like this. What happens is my hands are dirty. So what I want to do is I want to wipe my hands on the cloth and then I'm going to wash the cloth. Now, I'm not allowed to wash the cloth, but because we're worried that I'm going to end up washing the cloth, I'm not even allowed to wipe my hands on the towel. So what that means, straightforward halacha in the Shulchan Aruch, if your hands are dirty on Shabbos, you cannot wipe them on a cloth. You can wipe them only on like a horse's tail. Yeah.
That you wouldn't wash
something that you wouldn't wash. Now, as I said, this is potentially catastrophic. However, the recent poskim save it from actually being catastrophic, and they bring here in the Mishnah Brura notes over here that here we go. The Mishnah Brura qualifies it a little bit, but they quote here from Rav Elyashiv, who says this is only a concern in a place where the general way is to rinse something immediately after it's dirty. So sometimes what you do is if something's dirty, you throw it in the washing basket and you're going to do a load of laundry once a month. In some places, the way that... Sorry?
Yeah, many people are OCD.
Yeah, or as soon as it's dirty, or they don't have like a laundry day, you know. As soon as it's dirty, you wash it. If you live in a place where as soon as it's dirty you wash it, then you're in trouble. But if we don't have such a thing, if we say, look, I'll wipe it and I'll just put that in the washing basket, so Rabbi Elyashiv said, then that's not going to be a problem. Josh.
How can you not wipe your hands on the wall?
Why can't you wipe your hands on the wall?
Like you can do it with shit, like when
Some
you
other says it's become forgetful.
Yeah, so there's a number of things like that it's more the way one of my friends rabbis explained it was he said, you know, these are like strange behaviors and not proper derech eretz, not like behaving as a mensch. And if you behave as a mensch, then everything in your life is structured and ordered and it's correct. So you'll have a good memory also. But if you're like all over the place, don't expect to remember stuff either. But I mean, who wipes their hands on the wall, you know?
can wipe their shoes on the wall.
Who wipes their shoes on the wall? That would be like an outside wall. Yeah, an outside wall. Again, you got something stuck on your shoe, you'd wipe it. But your hands, I mean, imagine you go home, you spilled some tomato sauce on your hands. Right? I mean, that's not gonna go down so well.
You don't do that when you
Menachem.
spill tomato sauce on your shoe.
Number one, is it not like Shabbat fine with animal if you wipe it on their tail? Why not? Like you're like.
You don't do it that way.
They don't pull it.
And number two, what happens if that? Yeah, is there a difference if the animal's alive or dead?
No, just assume that it's
If it's
dead.
dead, it might be mukta.
Even to like
Maybe it's
But if
why
you
do
have
you-
like,
even
can't you
yeah,
have like a
Yeah, because it would be then.
Like if
the
it's
tail
can't you
would
have
be
like a
attached.
horse's tail
You
with
can't use a
like
brush.
Is it not looks if it's allowed?
No, if it's got a designated purpose.
And if it's
Like a pet. Pets are not mukta because they are designated to interact with.
Then you have to designate your horse.
When we were learning with Rabbi Brett, we learned that it's most probably muksa.
Rav Moshe Feinstein says it's not mukta. I don't want to argue with Rabbi Brett, but Rav Moshe Feinstein argued with Rabbi. No, I'm just joking. Rav Moshe Feinstein said that it isn't because it's there is discussion around it. There is discussion around it, but Rabbi Goldfein always told us that way there was, and that's what Rav Moshe says as well.
Okay, good.
He used the precedent of shechting on Yom Tov. You're allowed to shecht an animal and eat it on Yom Tov.
the president.
Precedent.
Precedent.
You're allowed to shecht and eat animal on Yom Tov. So why isn't it muktzah?
Because you're not
Yeah,
going to
Because
shut
it's designated for eating.
But you can't
So he
designate
said
it on
if it's
Shabbat.
no, you designated before. Since it's designated for eating, it's not muktzah. So he said the same thing. An animal is designated for interacting.
It's not always stringently of Shabbat.
It's
Yom Tov can't be of
It's got
Shabbat.
a voice note from Rabbi Brett. I hope it's not that he's upset with me. Yes, Yoda. Yes. Sorry? I didn't hear that.
What if it's not your
What if
animal?
it's not your animal, but it still is designated? It doesn't have to be designated by you for something not to be looked at. So I'll give you the example.
be better
If you
if
live on a
before
farm
Shabbos you
and you've got a dog there on the farm, that dog is not a pet. That dog is a work animal on the farm. So that dog would certainly be muktzah on Shabbat. Whereas if you are, living in a home and you've got this animal that is not your guard dog, it's your pet. So that's designated.
What if that dog is also your pet? Like it works on the
So
farm.
if it's
it
also your
rounds
pet,
up
then
the
it's also
sheep,
your
like,
pet, but a lot-
like every night it comes and sleeps in your room.
Oh, the fact that it sleeps in your room isn't it? I wouldn't say enough.
No,
I mean,
but
do you play
like
with
you
it? Yeah, you
invite
play
it
with it.
into
Yeah,
your
yeah, but I'm
room
saying, do
to
you play
come
with
and
it and
sleep.
you guys so then it's a pet. Then it's a pet as well.
Socially interactive.
Yeah. Any other questions before we go further? All right. So now is the
I'm
next
just gonna ask a
halakha.
question so you can eat more sushi.
No, it's all good. Thank you. Pacing myself. So he says you're not allowed to clean a cup that had water or wine in it with a cloth because you're going to end up squeezing out the cloth. So the idea here basically is when you want to clean something up, you've got to have a disproportionate towel to the spill. During the week, if there's a little spill, you take like a dishcloth, squeeze it out. If you need to come back for a second trip, right, you go back. If it's a big spill, she's like medium size, do the same thing. On Shabbat, it's always going to be disproportionate. If it's a little amount of water, get a medium size or big, so that it's going to be kind of absorbed in quite a diffuse way, and it's never going to become saturated with water that it might end up being squeezed out. So that's what we always want to do. We always want to avoid things being saturated with water. So for a little spill, big towel is the rule.
You said disproportionate, does that mean if it's a big spill and a small town?
No. Disproportionately big. If it's a big spill, get a huge towel.
Rabbi Hagen,
If it's a big spill.
so like, are you allowed to? So I spilled some soy sauce.
Yes.
Now I go and get my king size napkin, and I put it over, and so now there's a little bit of soy sauce in the middle, and it's highly saturated. Am I allowed to wrap around the dry spot around that and then squeeze?
Squeezing it. You're just going to be pulling it.
And squeeze it.
Yeah, because
Because either you're saying
it's
you're
going
only squeezing
straight
it
back
into the
into
towel.
itself.
I don't think so. We're squeezing from that part of the cloth still. Jethro?
No, I was just going to say it's like the 160 rule.
No. Stefan, this is just it's like a very practical thing to avoid. The 160 is also a very practical thing because that's about taste. That's just a rule of thumb. You shouldn't be able to taste it. So in a sense, it's similar because the rule is it shouldn't become so wet that you're going to be squeezing it out.
There's a Rebbe Posen who says that
Yes.
if you use something that it's not kosher, then you can use it, or something that you normally throw away, like a
serviette.
serviette.
Why? Because you're not going to squeeze it
It's
out.
not kosher.
No, it's not.
You're not gonna put it on the line or something. Now one's gonna think, oh, he's gonna reuse that serviette.
Yes.
Rabbi Fagan,
Yes. Sorry, 1 second. The point they make about the cup, though, in particular, is because a cup can be narrow, you can end up squeezing out as you clean the cup. So that's why they specifically focus on that example. Yes, Menachem?
was Chad saying like if your piece explodes, do you rather use like paper so that you don't really squeeze it out?
That is what he's saying.
And what if it's a smaller spill? Is it better
What
to
if the
use
users
a towel
are alive or
than
dead?
paper? Which one is better to use?
Depends, but
Nothing. It also makes a difference if
Depends
the
on the
geezer
sport.
is alive or dead.
So Chad's saying that paper is generally better because it's not permanent. I hadn't heard that before. I would have said a towel, but because then there's definitely not, paper could be that you're going to end up squeezing it out.
Okay,
So I would have said a towel.
I'll send you the
Thank you.
source.
Link. How about you?
Good. Next one.
Eh?
You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to look in a mirror, a metal mirror on Shabbat. Because we're worried that you're going to start plucking hair. That's it. Sorry? Presumably either. But the idea here is that it's not just a mirror, it was grooming a mirror. Right? So in the same way that you'll often have like a cosmetic mirror, a makeup mirror, something else. When you look in that mirror, you're looking to see, okay, how can I like fix myself up? It was that same kind of mirror. Sorry?
You can't take out animals.
Can't pluck your hair on Shabbat. So that's the same. But that's the same idea over here. Don't look in this kind of grooming mirror because you might end up pulling out.
Now does that apply? Because we don't really have grooming mirror.
What is you're saying? Look in the mirror? No. It's a concern that you might come to. Does it still apply? I am quite confident that it doesn't still apply. They bring in the Dirshu notes from the Aruch HaShulchan that we don't find such mirrors today. So they quote that there is a strict opinion. The Shala and Shabbat Or Letzion, I don't know who that is, say you actually can't even study your reflection in a knife on Shabbat because of this. But on the other hand, Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach was not so sure about this law because he said that the whole point here again was to look in order to remove hairs, but that's not the same kind of thing over here. Okay. So what it seems actually, this is not just So it's a specific kind of grooming mirror that it seems is like a knife as well. It's like doubles. It's like a razor blade that's also like a mirror. So you would look at it and cut, and look at it and cut. That seems to be that. So the Aruch HaShulchan says, listen, we don't have that anymore, so don't worry about it. Okay. Good. Next chapter, 303. The laws of women's jewelry on Shabbat. And this is really speaking about carrying. And the general rule when it comes to these rules, when it comes to these things on Shabbat, I think we saw some of this last time as well. If you are likely to take it off and start carrying it, don't wear it on Shabbat. If you are not likely to take it off and start carrying it, then you can wear it on Shabbat. And now we're going to see a number of examples. So, kind of hair, I don't know what these things are all even called, but you have these different color threads or things that are woven into the hair. So a woman shouldn't go out with those in her hair because she would need to take them out if she would go to the mikveh, and therefore we worry that she'd take them out, let's say, on her way to the mikveh or something like that. And obviously we're speaking where there's no Eruv. However, if they're properly woven into her hair, then it's fine, although some say then it's still not fine. If they, there's a different kind of weaving, then others say it's fine because then if it's really like a part of your hair, if it's really braided so well into your hair, then you wouldn't even need to take them out at the mikveh itself. Although I would say probably today we would, as a general rule, try to do even that. Sorry? He's saying it doesn't count as a chatzetza. So I'm saying, but today we're very strict about chatzetzas. Okay, but he says, however, if they're dirty or something, isn't it easy?
It's easier to remove them.
Is it easier to remove? So he's talking about saying that's quite hard to remove. So you get, for example, that's really the bottom line. If it's, you get kinds of gel nail extensions. Okay, you learn these kinds of things when you get married. It's like an extra nail that even if your nails are just as long, suddenly you've got nice long nails and whatever else, and it actually is cemented on there, and it stays on there for a month. Sorry, can't get it off. You have to go to somebody to actually that they will actually take it off. It's a whole story to get them taken off. So that you don't have to take off. So that you don't have to take off for the mikveh because this is now a part of you basically. It's not a. So that's the question when it comes to these hair extensions as well. Okay, and then it speaks about necklaces, fabric necklaces, which are also going to be fine because there, on the contrary, she doesn't need to take it off, not because it's so much a part of her, but because it's just going to be floating around. So it's also not going to be a chitzitz. And again, today we would say don't wear that in the mikveh, but in those days they didn't have such a problem with it.
My little sister just got earrings, and I used to keep them in for a year. Let's say if she was older and she's got earrings, then is she allowed to go into the mikveh with them?
Otherwise, the holes will close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the holes wouldn't close in the space of half an hour, would they?
One day.
You can't put them back in.
You can't put this.
Even a half hour later.
Take them out.
Huh.
Because a lot of the time you have to, I don't know, you have to take care of it, and like if you take your earring out, it's sore to put it back in. So it creates extra.
My sister has that.
Yeah.
They pierced it in the wrong place.
Okay.
So if she takes it out, she can't put it back in again.
Sure. Good question.
Some
Don't know.
bristles for that. If they want to wear that, they put the
Yes.
bristles in.
Okay. But I mean, as far as the mikvah goes, it would seem to be similar. One of those. So it's a good question. I don't know. I'd have to look into it. Okay. And then she shouldn't go out with a totefet. What's a totefet? It's a kind of a tiara. Why does that word totefet ring a bell? Tefillin, totafot. Same kind of thing. It's also like a crown, right? So she shouldn't go out with this totefet kind of crown or other kinds of headwear that they're speaking about. Yeah, I'm wondering the necessity of going through all of these in detail. Head coverings made of wool. And as I said, the problem with all of these is that it doesn't really speak to our modern situation. We don't have these same items of clothing or jewelry. And number two, we don't always treat them in the same way. They speak about the concern is that you're going to take it off and wear it. So that he doesn't speak in this whole chapter about sunglasses, whereas to us that would be a much more fundamental question. She can't go out with nose rings, but she can go out with earrings. Yeah, and he says because her ears are covered. So you'll see her nose ring, but you'll never see her earrings. Why won't you see her ears?
Covered by the
Wrapped in the scarf or whatever, yeah.
Muslim thing.
Yeah, what's it, the hijab. He says, but in a place where they show their ears, then you wouldn't be allowed to go out with earrings in a place where the custom is to take them out. So sometimes what would happen was she'd meet a friend on the street and they would say, "Oh, I love your earrings, darling," and she would say, "Oh yes," and she takes them out to show her and whatever else. And they're walking and talking, and next thing you've carried them for what's in the public domain. If you wouldn't see the earrings, then you're never going to end up carrying them by mistake. Okay. And they speak about different things with needles and all of that. Again, I'm not going to focus on that, even though a lot of this might come up in the test. It's really, I'm more concerned about what will come up on Shabbos. Okay, like a tooth replacement. A tooth replacement. So she's missing a tooth, and she wants to put another tooth in the place. Now, today we wouldn't necessarily do that with individual teeth, but you could often get that like a plate for a few teeth. Let's say somebody's missing their front 4 teeth in a car accident or something like that. So you actually get a plate with, those 4 false teeth that you'd put in over there. So something like that. So he says she can't wear that extra tooth, this fake tooth, if it's made of gold, because since it's so clearly different, maybe she's going to be embarrassed about it and take it off and try to hide it. But if it's made of silver, which it seems like the other teeth, then that's going to be fine. And certainly if it's actually made of tooth, then that's going to be all right. So coming back to our plates, those tooth plates, so that would be fine, because I think in most of these situations, you wouldn't know that necessarily that the person was. Even if you would know, it's really quite subtle.
It's funny.
We'll go around with the questions,
because nowadays people actually want it. They want a gold tooth.
There have been times. I think it fluctuates. So as styles. Same as beards. There's times when beards are in for the general rule. There's times when beards are in and beards are out, and gold teeth are in and gold teeth are out.
So 2 questions. One isn't a gold tooth like a currency?
No. Trade it. I think you've been watching too much TV, Samuel. Yeah.
Well, if I had a golden tooth, I would probably be more embarrassed if I had like a missing tooth and a golden tooth.
Yeah. So I would say that's culturally dependent. Depends on you and your environment. Who is next? I think there was somebody just up at the table for you.
And that's when you're referring to, that's it back to. People might not notice, but listen, people definitely notice if you've got a dog on in your place.
Yeah, that's a good explanation as well. Menachem?
At Ratanga, where they showed all the stuff that people had lost on the ride. There's this plate or front teeth.
Yeah. So that would be a hectic one to lose. Then he says shoes. A woman can't go out with a torn shoe because, again, she might be embarrassed and she might end up taking it off so that her friends don't see this torn shoe. She also can't go out with a new shoe. Why not a new shoe? Exactly. Maybe it's not right. You haven't really worn it in yet or whatever else. It's not going to be comfortable. You're going to end up taking it off and carrying it and walking barefoot rather. Unless you've already tried it and you're properly comfortable and whatever else. A man is allowed to go out with either a torn shoe or a new shoe because men don't really care so much about what they wear.
Is that what it says?
Yeah. She'ein makpid kol kach. But that's not reflected in the halakha. In other words, even if he's, gonna go to shul near all the teenage girls there and whatever else, we're still not worried that he's gonna take off and carry his shoe.
Like I was watching a thing, it was like one of this analyzing what happened. He said Eve gave Adam the fruits of knowledge and consciousness. So women make men conscious. So therefore, like men dress to impress women, women dress to
Yes.
impress men. So if I, or an adult, or like someone who's walked, a guy who's someone that's in shoe, and the girl laughs at him, he'll probably take it off.
So it could also be a culturally dependent thing. In other words, the Shulchan Aruch takes on that women might feel more embarrassed about the kind of clothing they wear, and men are like, whatever. And you're saying, well, it could be that we're in a place where men don't have that attitude. So indeed, if that was the case, then we would be concerned.
I'm reflecting on like the extreme.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, then... Okay, so now here's another interesting one. We're talking about bandages, that kind of thing. Sometimes somebody's got cotton wool in their ear, because they've got an ear infection and that kind of thing. Is that all right? Or an eye patch, or things like that, or an eye, with like a poultice with medication on for the eye. So things like that. He says basically all of this is fine as long as, with some of the things, as long as it's like tied on or secured, so that it's not going to fall off, or so you're not going to take it out. So that's what you've got to look at here. If it's the kind of thing where you might end up taking it off, putting it on, taking it off, putting it on, it's going to be a problem. But if it's securely attached, or we're not worried about you taking it off, then that's not going to be a problem. Yeah. They go into other things. They used to chew spices to give them good breath because they didn't have toothpaste, the way that we have. So, what do you say about that? So what they say is, to walk around in salt, or walk around with salt in your mouth, salt or pepper in your mouth, or any kind of fragrant herbs. But she shouldn't initially put them in, but if she already was found that they were in, she doesn't need to spit it out.
What about chewing gum?
Yeah, I was wondering about that as well. So the Mishna Brura says over here, "Nachon lahachmir bazeh im lo beit hatzorech." You should be strict on this unless you really need to. So I guess if somebody is told by the doctor that you need to chew this chewing gum for whatever reason, then we could maybe look at it. But a general rule, I would think not.
Maybe the special nicotine.
Oh, that's an interesting one. Like for a smoker, that he wants to become a non-smoker.
Yeah, and it's causing him pain.
Yeah, that's
if you're going causing pain.
a great question. That's a great question.
become a true.
Because there you've got two very compelling factors. One is that we don't want him to smoke on Shabbos, and the other one is we don't want him to smoke generally.
Yeah.
So those, I think that's a great one. I haven't got an answer for you. That's a fantastic question. Please let me know what you find out. Okay.
Well done,
Whenever we've said in this chapter, now in halakha number 16, whatever we've said in this chapter that she can leave her house with, it doesn't make a difference whether you're talking the alleyways or you're talking Rishut HaRabim. Right? To come into Rishut HaRabim, if you're allowed in the one, you're allowed in the other. Yeah. Okay. Some say that even in the courtyard of the house, you must only walk around with keys in your hand, not in your pocket, because you might end up forgetting them. That's an interesting one. In other words, if you don't live in an Erev, don't make a habit of putting things in your pocket. Make a habit of having nothing in your pocket over Shabbos. Yeah. Okay, then, as a general rule, again, the same thing. The flip side is that if you're not allowed to take this into Rishut HaRabim, you're not allowed to take it even into like a courtyard where there's no Eruv. And he goes into some exceptions, won't go through all the details again. But there are some exceptions where we would be concerned. But now he says, nowadays, our women go out with any kind of jewelry they like. And some say that really they shouldn't, but since they're not going to listen, it's better they should do it by mistake rather than doing it on purpose. So there's three important things over here. One is we see how practices change. That he's got a whole bunch of halachot about, this is what they do go out with, this is what they don't go out. But then he says, but actually that's not what's happening. Nowadays women are going out. Okay, so how do we explain the fact that they're going out with these if the halakha said that you can't? So his first explanation is they're still not allowed to. But you've got to pick your battles. I don't know if any of you know what it's like for a parent with teenage children, but that's one of the big rules in life is you got to pick your battles. If you're going to try and fight with your children over everything they do wrong, you're just going to end up with difficult and damaged relationships. So you've got to focus on what's very important and what are the battles you can win or whatever else. And some of them you just leave. So it's the same thing when it comes to religious life. I don't know. Cell phone cases at the next issue thing. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing when it comes to religious life. That sometimes in the community people are doing something wrong. And if you fight with them, they're going to do it wrong anyway, except now they're going to do it wrong in defiance of the instruction. Whereas if we don't give them an instruction, they'll do it wrong out of ignorance of the instruction. So that's the first explanation that he gives. Menachem Yisrael.
What happens if, number one, what happens if you don't know if they're still going to do it?
So when do you apply this of saying, look, don't talk to people about it, they're not going to listen anyway? So that, you need wisdom to know when to apply it.
And number two, just going back to the smoking thing, are you allowed to stop someone smoking on Shabbos? It's that you're smoking on Shabbos. If you go to break Shabbos in the process, is it counted as Pekach Nefesh?
How are you gonna?
No, it's not counted as Pekuach Nefesh. No, I'll just tell you once you mention it. The story of why would it be? Pekuach Nefesh is it's like Pekuach Nefesh in that context, like an immediate Pekuach Nefesh. Get long-term Pekuach Nefesh and short-term Pekuach Nefesh. The story of Rabbi Ari Levine, where he was walking down the street, and somebody was walking past him smoking on Shabbos, and he walks up to him, total stranger. And he says, my son, I love you so much, but don't you know, the Torah says that it's forbidden to smoke on Shabbat. And he says, Rabbi Levine, what do you care? I'm like a goy as far as you're concerned. Rabbi Levine said, please don't say that. You're so precious to me. You're so precious to Hashem. So important. You should know how important Shabbos is. He looks and he says, Rabbi, I promise you, I will never ever smoke again on Shabbat. And he dropped the cigarette and walked away. So, you don't have to break Shabbos in order to do that. Thank you. Shkach Rabbi Ari Levine. So, the next thing is, so first he observes. He starts by observing. that it used to be that women didn't go out for all these things. Nowadays they do. Maybe it's because now they stopped listening. But maybe it's because, he says, some say that nowadays we don't have a proper Rishut HaRabim. Since we don't have a proper Rishut HaRabim, this is the opinion that how many people need to go through there every day to make a Rishut HaRabim? Like 600,000 people going through every day. There's very few places like that in the world. Since we don't have a proper Rishut HaRabim, so therefore today we're more lenient in these things. Historically, I've never understood that. In the olden days, they used to have places of 600,000 people, and today we don't. I don't know. But that's how it's taken on halakha. The Ramah gives a third reason, is that he says, nowadays we are wealthier, and we have jewelry even during the week. And it's not such a big deal to like take off your jewelry and show one another. I don't know, Ton, have you ever stopped your friend in the street and you started taking off earrings and comparing earrings and necklaces and that kind of, because nowadays it's just like kind of part of what you wear. So there's different, that's right. There's different social norms at play, says the Ramah, and therefore it's not such a problem. Okay, so those are the three explanations they give for it. And then he says, so they have got this thing about in halakha number 20, little girls who pierce their ears so that when they get big, they'll put in earrings. And in order that the holes don't close, they put in little sticks to keep the place. You're allowed to go out with that. Even if you're putting in like little loops or something, you're allowed as long as they're not colorful, but you're not allowed if they are colorful, because then it goes back to kind of being the same reason. Yeah, I think because she might take it out to start showing her friends.
But you can't do that because if it's there to like hold the space, then why would you take it out?
Because once you've now made it all colorful, so now it's serving a dual purpose. So if you want to hold the space, just keep it not pretty. Okay, now the next halakha that we're not going to get up to because we're out of time, but I just want to make mention of it, is makeup. And he says there's a problem of makeup. The problem of makeup is what? Is tzoveya. What's tzoveya? Painting, dyeing, coloring. Right? That you're not a problem with makeup is putting dye or color on the face. Yeah, and in fact, let's just mention quickly because we're right by the end of this chapter. And you're not allowed also to braid hair. What's the problem of braiding hair?
Building.
Exactly, Bonnet, very good. Because you're making a construction out of the hair, and so temporary building is also a problem.
Like Lego.
No, Lego's different. Lego's not even building. With the hair, it is considered building.
Why?
Play-Doh is smoothing.
But how's Lego not building?
How's Lego not building?
That's how
How's braiding your hair building and Lego not building?
So building applies to the human body. How do we see that building applies to the human body? We do. Try again. When Hashem is creating Chava, He took the tzela from Adam, vayivin oto leisha, and He built it into a woman. So we find that human beings, it's appropriate to apply the term buildings. That's the human being. However, with Lego, it clicks in and clicks out. So nothing's being built. If you're talking with screws and nuts and bolts, take a look. It's more complicated than Mishkan. Yeah.
So then technically by that, I can rub something on the wall and say it's not building, because you say some people count it as adding like a plaster layer or reinforcement. And secondly, doesn't it also depend on the subjective opinion of the people around? Like, because I always say I'm building with Lego. So I always see it, it's like the same with chicken and meat. You can't cook chicken with milk because you view it as meat. It's always defined as.
Yeah, sometimes. Answer is sometimes. A fuller answer would need a longer discussion. So sometimes. Yes. Sorry? Makeup, yes. 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 I don't know too much about makeup. Yeah. We'll have to look at that in more depth. The last point is to use a hard brush. To use a hard brush on Shabbat is problematic because you'll end up pulling out hair. Yeah. Good. We'll leave it there and behatzlacha, and we'll please God continue next time.
Bye, Rabbi.
I'm not going to ask him.